I do think that there is so much hidden talent inside our organizations, and we don't even realize it. How do you find that? How do you leverage that? How do you build and develop that? This is what I find so interesting about the skills conversation, everything that we've just been talking about. The potential and impact for any one of us is huge.
Don't conduct your analysis in isolation because data is so incredibly powerful.
Not defending just the tribe, but defending the organization.
Those creative people that you really want to keep empowered, keep excited, keep motivated, keep thinking.
A good experience pays dividends down the line.
Stereotypes tend to break down in proximity.
Welcome to We're Only Human, a podcast about human resources, business, technology, and the workplace. My name is Ben Eubanks, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Hey everyone, it's Ben Eubanks here. Welcome to We're Only Human. Looking forward to a fun conversation today. I am so excited to have Heidi here with me because we got a chance to meet in person a few months ago now. We're doing an event together in New York City. We're both on a panel together, and I'm just sitting there listening to her share and thinking, I think this would be really beneficial for everybody to hear out there in podcast land. So I've invited her onto the show and she's here alongside me. So welcome, Heidi. Good to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So you are the, let me take a deep breath before I read your title off here, SVP of Global HR Strategic Initiatives and Delivery Solutions for Estee Lauder. And you're fun, you're funny, and you're a great HR leader all at the same time. So it's kind of a fun combination here. But before we get into the good stuff we're going to talk about today, would you take a second beyond that title and tell everybody else who you are and what you do, please?
Sure. So in addition to my HR job that I have and that I've been playing in HR for many years now, but I'm also a wife and a mother to an amazing family. And I happen to be an avid fan of hiking, biking, kayaking, and cooking. And I actually recently just got back from a dream trip hiking the Salcantay Trail in the Peruvian Andes. Amazing.
Oh my goodness. Invite for me must have gotten lost in the mail somewhere, maybe, because that sounds like an incredible kind of hike. Wow.
We were wondering why you didn't show up.
Oh my goodness.
Get it.
The bear got me. No. So, all right. I'll pick one of those things out of all those things. What do you like to cook?
So usually cooks, you're either a cook or a baker. Mm-hmm. I'm both.
Okay.
And I have such a big sweet tooth. My favorite things fall into the sugar category.
Okay. Excellent. Mine too, by the way. So I found a recipe for baklava, I think it is how you pronounce it. It's Greek, like pastry stuff. And I've got all the ingredients. I'm going to be making it sometime soon. Cannot wait. I've never made it before, but the whole family probably would have fighting over it. So you
make sure that you send me some.
Yes, we'll have to get some into the mail up there in New York. Make sure you're all set on that. Okay, cool. I'm the same, by the way. My wife gets so annoyed at me because she's like super scientific and precise on everything. And like, let's throw some of this in there. Okay, that worked out. And so I'm kind of that way when I cook. When I bake, you got to be a little more specific, but I love doing a little bit of both. So awesome. Very cool.
And that's funny. That's exactly why it's so different, right? Because on the baking side, it is so exact and precise, and cooking is just a little bit more creative and out there. And I like to do a bit of both on both sides.
It's this segue. So I heard a person I respect in the space years ago said, great HR people are low rules orientation. Like, even though we have to keep the rules and make sure everybody's keeping to the rules, the best ones are not like held back by them. They look for ways to work around them or ways to supersede them when they can. So here we go. That's a perfect transition into the world of HR and work and all that good stuff. So what I want to talk to you about is when you and I were together on that panel, we were talking about things like reskilling the workforce, using a skills-based talent strategy, things like that, really trying to focus on the core of skills, what that means for the workforce, all those kind of pieces. And I would love to hear from you again. That was a while back when we had that panel, but anything that stands out to you from that session or that day overall that you think is interesting or relevant to talk about here?
Sure. Well, we can talk about skills because I do think skills are really interesting. But the funny thing is, as you said, we came together to talk about skills and skilling. But the underpinning and what I really walked away with was the AI component of it, because that event was hosted by a kind of newer tech company that is focused in the AI space. Mm-hmm. And, everyone in that room, I think I told you this when we first met, that I was asked to come speak on a panel for this event, and my response was, okay, but why do you want me? I'm not an AI expert. Like, what the heck do I know about AI? And they said, well, I'll just come. That's going to make you super interesting. But what I learned that day is that nobody's really an expert in AI. We are all learning together. We all have different pieces of the puzzle and different parts of the equation, and have different perspectives. But it was only when we all came together and started sharing those that we all just realized, like, wow, we're all learning this together. Love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny that you say that, because I've spoken at a couple different companies, like within their, hey, we're having our HR sort of offsite, and this AI stuff is blowing up, and we don't know what we don't know. And so I've spoken at a couple of things like that this year, and I have one coming up in Tampa in a few months, because I'm getting a chance to, or these other leaders are saying the same thing you are. We think this is probably important. We don't know what's out there, what's available, what's possible, essentially, what's potential for us, what can we do? And so they're looking for a way to get their arms around that. I was also, so the piece that ties those things together, I think the conversation around skills is this big, like, hard to understand thing in some ways, because imagine taking every job that any of you have out there listening in here, any job that you have in your company, and breaking it down into the requisite skills, and you start to see, oh wow, that's super complicated. And the thing is, humans are not made to understand and consume and analyze that level of detail. We just can't do that. Our brains aren't functioning that way. And my own functions like a way higher level than that. It's like I can't get around it. So AI is the answer to that. It helps to really pull those things together, to standardize them, to fit them together, look for trends, figure out how they fit together, say, oh, by the way, did you realize these 3 jobs that seem very disparate actually have 60% overlap in the core skills it takes to get them done? If you're reskilling someone for a job, if you're training them up, all those kind of things, that gives you a chance to do that. That's the part that I've really enjoyed in that conversation, is trying to look at the practical stuff, the use cases. And that's one of the things that you and I were talking about before we started recording, is we're both drawn to the, okay, that's really cool, but what am I going to do with it? I've got a job to solve, or I've got a problem to solve today, right?
Totally. And I love what you're saying about this, because you're absolutely right. Like, it's really complex when you get down to it. And we take human beings, and we are complex creatures, and trying to recreate, right? Like, and pinpoint what makes me good in my job by picking 3 or 4 skills and then comparing me to 12 other people. You need that level of complexity to start to identify what distinguishes me from the person next to me who's doing the exact same work, but we're showing up a little bit differently, right? Like, that comes out in this detail. And I think having AI and the applicability of that helps and enables that, for the very reason that you're raising.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things out of that entire session and the entire day, one of the comments in the audience, I'm going to get it wrong now that I've thought about it and tried to actually recall it. But one of the comments in the audience, everybody's talking about skills in this bigger conversation, and someone mentioned something like about empathy or something like that not being a skill. And it's not a skill in the context of, it doesn't show up in like any system that's out there right now. For the most part, it's looking at, okay, Heidi, your job is in HR. You have to know compliance. You have to be able to do recruiting. You have to do like whatever else. It doesn't say, oh, by the way, empathy is a skill. We're measuring that. We can prove that. And yet any of us, anyone listening right now, if you've ever hired someone that looked great on paper and they get in there and everything's like, what is going on here? Everyone wants to pull their hair out when they work with this person, because they don't have any empathy, or they don't have any ability to work alongside other people. So it may not be a skill that's easy to measure or track in some of the other, in the bigger world of AI and skills, everything else, but it does matter. And those sort of soft skills, the human skills, as we call them, do fit in that bigger picture. And that's one of my big takeaways from that overall thing.
Totally agree. It is a differentiating factor in what makes us successful or not. And at the end of the day, I don't care whether you call it you can call it anything you want. I care about it. For sure.
All right. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was, we have other leaders listening in right now, talent leaders, HR leaders, people who are doing this at all kinds of different organizations. And when it comes to developing, growing their people, making sure they prioritize them, I would love to just throw that out to you. Anything that you think should be top of mind for you, any trends or anything that you're watching that you're like, hey, you've got to be on top of this if you want to be able to serve your people well, if you want to be able to support them to the degree that you want to. Anything out there that you're keeping your eyes on?
So there are a lot of things, but let's talk about skills because, and especially I'm an HR professional. So I think about these things. I think about people. I think about the talent that we have in the organization and that we need to use. And I talk to managers, and many times they say, ugh, like I just don't have the skills that I need here. I need to go outside. And then you say, well, how about someone internally? No, like my team is great, but everybody else's team, right? Like it isn't, or like we see people by what they do or like how we interact with them, but they're, even within our own teams, we don't know the skills that we have necessarily, right? Until we ask, and it gets even worse when you go outside to other people's teams or to people that you don't know. And there is just so much potential out there today. And I know that there are a lot of companies out there that have started like tapping into this in terms of different talent marketplaces that tap into different skills and other things. I think we're just scratching the surface right now. I think there is so much more hidden opportunity that we haven't even got to, with huge far-reaching implications, including in the DE&I space.
Okay, I've got a couple questions I want to ask you based on that bit there, because one of the things we did in our research this year is we asked candidates that are looking for work, we said, what is the number one way that employers can show respect for you when it comes to hiring process? And they said that I want them to see my potential, number one, more than anything else. And for some reason, as you've just pointed out, once people come into the business, we're like, okay, now forget that potential stuff, just do your job, just get to work. And I wonder, what are your thoughts on that? Why are managers either unwilling or unable to see that layer beneath what Heidi's job title is now and see what you could be? Is it because they're just pigeonholing them, like we hired you for this and that's what you're going to be? Is it because subconsciously, like, actually Heidi's a really good performer, I don't want to lose her because then it's going to create another hole in my team? What do you think are the reasons why managers are either unwilling or unable to acknowledge that layer deeper of hidden talent that they have?
Yeah, look, I can't really put my I can't tell you exactly what every manager thinks, and I think
I need you to speak for every manager on the planet, Heidi. Come on.
Let me try to speak for every manager on the planet. I think there are probably a lot of factors in this, but look, as an HR professional, I often tell managers, look, when you're hiring someone, that's fine. You've got work that you need done, and you're gonna look for people who can do that job. I think you need to look beyond that. And as an HR professional, I'm looking beyond that, because if you're just bringing someone in who can only do that and we don't see anything else for them to do, I think we're doing you a disservice, and I think we're doing the enterprise a disservice, and we're doing the individual a disservice. And so I think we always have to be looking at that. But the question of why, look, it's rare. And I say rare. I'm not sure that I've ever met a manager who said, I have enough resources and not enough work. What I hear is, oh my God, like we have so much work. The burden and workload has gotten even more over the last however many years. Technology, social media, none of this has helped the workload. It's actually making it feel like we're on 24/7 or more and more, right? So like you're so focused on, wow, I now have this resource, like let's bring them in and just get the work done. I do think there are amazing managers out there who do really think about and do a great job of helping their teams grow and develop and find that next thing. Do I think that there are managers who are talent hoarders who hold on to them? Absolutely. I have seen that as well. But what I thought was really interesting, when I speak to a lot of junior talent, right? We always ask people, what do you want to do? And we expect an answer for them. And if we're really honest with ourselves and with others, how many of us really know what we want to do? And then the advice we say, like, go ask your manager. What is your manager? There's an infinite number of jobs out there, right? And they know like the little bit about what they do. When I have the open conversation with people and I'm super honest with them and say, what? I've never really known what I want to do. I kind of landed here. At my first job, I actually hated it, didn't stay very long, even though that's what I had studied to do, and quickly had to switch track. But I feel like it's just, if something's interesting, if I'm learning something new, I'm like, yeah, sign me up. And I've just worked my way through. So I have people saying, okay, you know what? That's true. I don't really know what I want to do. What do you think I could or should do? And I went to HR Tech last year, and I was actually, I don't know if you've ever been to HR Tech. It's huge. It's like super interesting. I need to go, if I go, with a focus, right? Like, what do I want to learn about? And I need to go down that track, because otherwise I'm just getting information overload. But I found this one organization that actually they did a lot of different things. They play in the skills space, and they were showing they've got a product when an employee is applying for a job in your organization, not only do they show you that job, they also show you like 10 other jobs that you're qualified for today, or that you could be qualified for by just developing these like 3 skills in this job that you're applying for. I love that. What a useful tool for people. I would like that.
Yes. One of my favorite sayings is, if we don't cast a vision for what Ben's future looks like at the organization, the competition will cast that vision for them when they call about the job opportunity, right? So we've got to help them. If we don't give them something to compete with that, then there's a blank slate up there. And someone else is like, hey, look at all these potential opportunities. Well, wow, I would love that. We may have those same opportunities right here, but we haven't exposed them to them. We haven't talked about them. We haven't let them know that's possible. All those kinds of barriers that may exist there create some challenges. So
yeah, how many people have you spoken to who have said like the number one reason why I went to company X, Y, or Z was because of all the opportunity? And the number 1 or 2 reason, usually the number 1 reason why they leave is because of the manager. The number 2 reason why they leave is lack of opportunity.
yes.
And you know what? It's because that company hasn't done a good job, like you said, of helping that person see what that opportunity is and could be, and helping them, achieve it, realize it.
There's a company based here in Huntsville, Alabama, where I am, and they were ranked the number 1 mid-sized company to work for in the US for several years. And one of their hiring practices was, we hire people who are Swiss Army knives, people who we can adapt and who are willing to adapt into this role, that role, depending on what the situation demands. We don't want someone that's just a do this and then we've got to either throw you away or you're going to have to leave and find something else. Like, we want you to be able to move something else. We don't hire you for this just immediate term. And
Yep.
I think it goes back to what you were saying a minute ago, where when people come in, usually if we're open about that as employers, like, this is what you have, but there's also other opportunities here. We want to see you be successful, whichever direction you want to go. We want to partner with you along that journey. That creates a really fun conversation for people. Even if they're like, I don't know yet what I want to do, that's fine.
Totally.
A lot of us took jobs that were like, oh, wow, this is great. That's not so great. And you start hopefully narrowing your focus over time and directing it towards the work or the kind of company or the kind of leader you work for. All those things influence that.
Totally. I got to tell you, some of the best HR people I ever worked with did not have HR backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
They came from marketing or operations or finance or the movie industry or fill in the blank. It's like amazing. And there's just, I always say, what makes people good, a lot of times it's what they've learned and how they apply those learnings. And I always say, like, I love TED Talks. For me, I love that they're short and quick and you go in and you learn something new, but I make it a point to go in and watch something that is totally outside of my realm of knowledge, just so I can learn something new. And the adjacencies that I always find are amazing. I watched one where there was some woman who was like knitting the bottom of the ocean and like, it was like this. And I walked away with like 5 ideas that I could apply like back in my own job. And I feel like when you're just like so super narrow and focused in one area, you kind of lose that perspective and you kind of get stuck in the grind. I need that, right? And I think that you get that with when you have folks who are really like learning and growing and trying new things and crossing over.
I love that you shared that piece, because I do the same kind of thing. I'll listen to something that's outside of our bubble completely. I actually don't listen to that many podcasts in the HR world at all. I listen to things outside that because I always find something like, oh, I could adapt that and that fits here, or that solves the same problem, but no one else has any idea about it because they're all just focusing on the problem instead of looking for other types of things. One of the people who I followed back in my early career does a lot of career advice, things like that. One of their key things was, your passion doesn't find you on the couch, right? You're not sitting there thinking, oh, you know what I really wanted to do? HR, like that. Most people, it doesn't happen. For me, it sort of did, but that's a weird and very different story. For most people, it's I'm testing, I'm experimenting, and then you find a thing that you start to run across and like, oh, I did enjoy that. I want to go back to that more. You start, as I said, sort of sculpting that. There's a book, I can't remember what the title is here on my shelf somewhere, but it talks about job sculpting and sculpting that down to the kind of things that fit Ben or fit Heidi the best, so that our strengths are really played up in the work we do, instead of it being, okay, I get to spend 20% of my job doing things that really bring out my best, and 80% is just like drudge and grunt work and just biding my time to get to do the other 20% again. So
I love that you said that, because actually I think we're confused about passion. I think people think like you're born with it and it's, it, and like the things that you love doing are the things that you should do in your career. I don't think that's true. It's something, but once in a while that works out. But actually, I think passion is something that you find and discover, right? You like you said, you try something, you taste it, you get a little test for it, you start to get good at it, you realize that you like it, and it becomes a passion. I think there's a lot of jobs out there where you're like, wow, how did why that person seems to love it, but like, really? And it's, you're not bored. I mean, let me tell you something. When I was growing up, the last thing I wanted to do was be an HR professional. At the time, it was like personnel. Quite frankly, I shouldn't admit that, but it's true. And yet here I am, and I love being in HR. But I had to discover that.
One of the not to be too meta about this conversation, but one of the other things I've noticed is that a lot of people who are like, "Oh, you work in HR," like you kind of the side eye, or like that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. It's because they've had a bad experience and that's all they can see. Like, oh, you're that kind of person. Like, no, wait a minute. There's a whole spectrum here, just like there's in any job. And like the salesperson who's friendly and nice and helpful versus the salesperson who's like slimy car salesman. Like that's a spectrum, just like HR is a spectrum saying, hey, no, did I say no? Oh, and by the way, no. It's the answer to every question. And those that say, hey, that's a really great question. Let's find a way to make that happen, because I think that that would be best for everybody, right? There's a whole spectrum there.
And what I love about HR is that it's about people and organizations and leadership and how things come together. And like, there is so much room for creativity. I am a creative person, and people always look at me like, how did you end up in HR? I'm like, that's why I'm in HR, right? Like every day is something different. It's something new. It's that even this whole conversation we're having, right? Even the skill thing, there is so much to be discovered. And I love that. I need to be learning something new all the time.
Well, that's what's fun for me is I'm thinking back through this thread of the conversation so far. So everybody's listening to us like stream of consciousness go through this, but like we talked about a minute ago, there are skills like passion, passion, not really skill, but right, your intensity, your creativity, your curiosity, all those things are tough to measure. They're hard to actually predict and understand and say, oh, this type of job, this person's likely to have a lot of those things. Like we might look at other skills like, oh, they got to do creative writing or whatever else, but we don't say that many jobs that require these other things. But as I was telling you before we started, the first book I wrote on AI, I talk in the last chapter about the human skills of work. And those are compassion, critical thinking, curiosity, creativity, like those things that set us apart from any sort of algorithm or computer or software. And that's great because that's what we're naturally able to do. And if anyone out there's listening in to this today, I hope that you're getting a takeaway, listening to Heidi over there, being all bright and shiny and fun, talking about the importance of building out that passion, thinking about how your creativity is an edge in the future of work and the kind of things you could be doing. Think about this curiosity piece saying, I wonder what's going to happen if I try to change this recipe a little bit, throw this in there and find out. Like those things may seem like little side parts of who you are, but that fits into how you work too, and how you get your job done and how you work with others around you. And that's a strength I would consider. I
totally agree. And the interesting thing for me is I think those are assets in like any job you could do.
Yes.
And they are differentiators to me in anything, right? Like pick the person that you want, the person who's super passionate, who's empathetic, who's compassionate, who's super curious, or the one who is totally shut down, boring, doesn't like, is mean, evil. Like they could be doing the same kind of work. I don't know about you. I want the former.
Yes. Goodness. Okay. So I've enjoyed this so much. I want to ask you 50 other things. I think the only other call out I was going to make based on some of your comments earlier is you talked about the hidden talent piece. And I think my takeaway from that when you were sharing that is those leaders that do want to build their teams, do want to create the best outcomes. Like they want stability in their team, but they want performance too. And if you want that, you have to, right? You can't build your people if you can't find what talents they have. So be willing, if you're listening into this or you're trying to figure out how to help your managers do some of this stuff, again, practical today, make sure your managers are asking people, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? What kind of work brings out your best? And they should be looking for those things. And when they see that stuff, try to give that person more of that type of work. It's going to bring out all their best creativity. It's going to make them more happy in their work, more satisfied. And we get the benefit of having someone who's incredible doing those things or recognizing their strengths at the same time. It's kind of a combination of all good things. I don't like the word synergy, but synergy probably fits there. So all the good things layered on top of each other.
Well, I love that. You have to give people the opportunity to do things that they haven't done before. And yes. You may have heard me say this before because I seem to recall saying something about this when we were together on the panel, but it is amazing to me how everybody is way too busy at work. Like they don't have 1 ounce of time left, 1 second of time left to do anything within the context of their job. But when it's something new, interesting, that they're passionate about or interested in, all of a sudden they have all the time in the world. And we've got something, in my organization where we are able to because we don't always get the headcount for all the work that we do, but we do have the ability to post like assignments or projects. And anyone in the organization can really raise their hand and say, yeah, I'd like to do it. And I can't tell you how many people tap into that. I've done it right there. I saw something, I thought it was kind of cool. And I said, I'd like to even, and I'm in a senior role, I'd like to play at that, but I've also leveraged people that way. And when I go back many times to the managers, I've got one person who's working with me right now on something that she had never really done before. When she reached out and said she was interested, I was like, great, let's do it. I spoke to her manager and the manager was like, really? Well, okay, but go ahead, right? And even the manager has said to me, wow, I never knew this person and this person. Now I've been leveraging this person in lots of different ways, and she's quiet behind the scenes before, and now is facilitating large meetings with hundreds of people. And people are they're like, where did you come from? You're amazing, right? And this was because someone raised their hand for something and discovered joy, skills, passion that they never even knew that they had. And it's amazing.
That's one of the things we see we did some research on internal mobility last year and talent marketplaces, those sorts of concepts. And the thing we found when we actually asked the workforce, if you had an opportunity to do that kind of thing, raise your hand, try something else, why would you do that? 3 of the big reasons were developing new skills, getting to try something I can't in my normal job, being able to hone and really emphasize a strength that I already have, or being able to test out other kinds of jobs without risking everything. If it's a full move to another job, oh wow, this is not what I thought it was, I hate this, then there's no way to save face. They've got to leave pretty much to be able to do that. There's no way to rewind that and back up. And so that lets them sort of sample the other jobs and understand what they like, what they don't like, and then decide what they want to do next eventually. And so it's really incredible. I love that story.
And it works the other way as well. I can't tell you how many managers meet and start working with someone, and the second they have an opening on their job, immediately they're like, that's who I want.
Yep. Come on over. I've already
It opens up opportunities on all sides, which is amazing.
Try before you buy. There you go.
Yeah, totally.
Excellent. Okay. Man. Okay. So I've enjoyed this so much. I've gotten some good takeaways, some great ideas from this. I know everybody else probably had a blast listening to us talk about the passion piece and some other components, and we still somehow wrapped it back into HR stuff at the very end. Look at you. Okay. You're so masterful. All right. So if someone says, I love this conversation, I've got to have some more Heidi, are you okay with them reaching out, connecting with you on LinkedIn?
Totally. My LinkedIn name is Heidi Ramirez Perloff. So yeah.
I'll make sure and get that into the show notes so anyone can click right over. Please don't just spam her, ping her and say, hey, I heard you on the podcast. You were incredible and amazing, and throw in a couple other superlatives while you're at it, because she certainly was. All kidding aside, Heidi, you've been wonderful. I appreciate the time that you spent with me here and sharing with the audience, giving them some encouragement too. I love the fact that I have someone who's a senior HR leader at an incredible company. And instead of talking just HR strategy and all the nuts and bolts stuff, it came back to we're all humans still at the end of the day. And we care about passions. We want to do work that feels like it's meaningful to us and really matters to what we bring to the table. And I love that the conversation was steered that way. So thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. To everybody else out there, hope you enjoyed it. Got some good notes and takeaways. Go out there and explore, discover your passion. It's not going to find you. And we'll catch you next time on We're Only Human. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I'm honored to have you as a listener. If you enjoyed this episode, please take 10 seconds to rate it at iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, if you know a friend that could benefit from today's conversation, please pass it their way. After all, a rising tide lifts all ships. To see show notes, sponsor information, and our full show archives, visit onlyhumanshow.com.